Another ASUU strike. Well, today, in fact, this week, who knows how it's all just going to pan out. Well, this morning we're joined by Dr. Chris Osegenwune, who is of the Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming out this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be taking a look at this planned strike, and papers are awash with so many things going on, but what exactly is going on again, you may ask?
Well, it's when you don't conclude a battle, you are likely to return back to the trenches. What happened was that the agreements signed by ASUU and federal government have not been honored. In fact, government has not responded to its own side of the bargain. See, you don't have to pet a baby not to sleep. You know, when you pet a baby to sleep, you make sure you provide things that will make the baby to sleep and stop some people in the night.
Is it responding in part or wholly?
Well, you see, there are many components to the agreement.
Okay.
Incidentally, I don't have the details of the agreement, but there are many components. Unfortunately, only a minute segment have been implemented.
Which is which one?
Well, that's a part of the salary agreement, because, you know, they agreed to increase the salary by a particular percentage. But that was the first step. But after that, they ought to have taken other steps ahead. As I talk to you now, nothing has happened.
Which one is outstanding? Because we know that you're talking about retirement age.
Okay, retirement age is outstanding. Then supervision allowance for various levels, both postgraduate level.
Pardon me. For those who missed it, actually, there is a report which has been going on for a while. So we'll just set the scene, if we can say that, with that report, and then you continue from there.
Education as a growth indices in any society remains critical to the development of that given society and its citizenry. Over the years, successive governments and the workforce at tertiary institutions have occasionally engaged in discussions over the funding ratio for higher education. Where no truce is reached with government, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, have often used the weapon of strike actions to press home its demand, leading sometimes to a close down of academic activities for months. At those times, students have had to sit back at home indefinitely. ASUU made demands as condition to return to work, which included injection of funds into universities to stem decay, payment of allowances, and 70 years retirement age for academic of the professor cadre, among others. In a new twist of things, over the weekend, ASUU announced its commencement of a warning strike starting from midnight Sunday, 25th of September 2011.
We'll go to federal government, say federal government, it is required that these campuses be secured, but this is the bill implication. So increase the allocations to universities so that issues of security, learning environment, teaching environment, accommodation can be addressed and addressed properly. And the government says, no problem, we'll do that. We'll be increasing your budgetary allocation so that all these issues that tie down on money, that come back to be tied on money, will be addressed. Then the government goes to reduce the budgetary allocation to the sector. Not only does it not increase it, further reduces it progressively.
Reacting to this recent pronouncement by ASUU, observers, while sympathizing with the school's body, still wonder why it appears the federal government only heeds to demands by labor force when they institute strike actions. But again, this same school of thought would rather that ASUU comes up with more creative ways of dealing with the federal government on matters bordering on remunerations and sundry matters.
If you compare Nigerian universities to South African universities, the lecturers are not, they are poorly paid. That's why the salary they get here is 30% of what their counterparts are being paid in South Africa. So they are not putting much effort towards lecturing the students in the way they should have done.
Between 1993 and 2008, universities in Nigeria were closed down for 36 months. It's been a decade-long battle between federal government and ASUU. In 2007, it took a presidential intervention to avert an ongoing strike. Once again, there will be a disruption of academic calendar, and the students will be worse for it.
I personally want to appeal to the federal government to, grant the request of ASUU.
As against the 26% recommendation by UNESCO, the country allocates a paltry 5% of its budgetary allocation to education. All is now set for another strike action by ASUU, and we may be back to the trenches except one group gives in.
Who knows what it will be and who will give in this time? Well, perhaps we should just tell people out there. Is ASUU on strike?
Well, basically, yes, ASUU is on strike. Incidentally, for instance, in Unilag, this session has not commenced. I'm talking about the 2011/12 session. We just concluded our examination sometime in August. But you see, screening is going on for the current year 1 students, and then maybe by October, other students will come on board. But actually, when we walk into the campus, because of academic programs that are somehow on holiday, the campus is quiet. That is why you may not notice that strike is going on in Unilag. But I'm sure if you get to other campuses, you will see the difference.
So the strike starts today?
It starts today.
How long?
Well, this is a warning strike, just 7 days warning strike, after which we review the situation and then think of the next step to follow.
Okay. Well, there are those who agree that ASUU has a right, or has a right to demand what they're demanding, and then they have a right to go on. But then some students, as you heard in that report, someone speaking, the lecturers have not been teaching the students as they ought to. Weigh that against your demands that you have a right to go on strike, and that the federal government should keep to the agreement.
Okay. Well, it is not possible to state that some lecturers are not teaching what they ought to teach because of government not paying attention to them. That is not correct. As far as I'm concerned, you see, Nigerian lecturers are having a rough time. You see, if you compare them to their counterparts all over the world, they're having a rough time. You see, it's the same market that the senator and the lecturer go to, and they look at the purchasing power. So it's not that they are doing that, they are not teaching what they're supposed to teach because of government not paying attention. They are still trying. In fact, within the available means resources, and then decadent facilities. Infrastructure facilities that are very poor.
Now you talk about those facilities now. As you rightly said, your demands include retirement age for academic staff in the professorial care, improved welfare packages, adequate funding for research and development, and a total overall of the university's infrastructure. Let's talk about the infrastructure now before we get to remuneration for lecturers. How is it like in the schools now? Teaching aids, laboratories, and some other stuff you have in your school. How is it like?
In fact, to say the least, is beyond the imagination. The facilities are so poor, they are so bad, and sometimes these facilities were designed for a number of students. But now I see the population explosion that has taken its toll on the students. There is no commensurate improvements on this.
Would more universities solve that? Creating more universities?
In fact, creating more universities is compounding the problem.
How?
It's compounding the problem because if you cannot manage the present one that you have, and you are going ahead to establish more universities, it doesn't make sense. We are not against the establishment of universities, but what effort have you made to improve the ones on ground? It's not enough to establish universities. Are you prepared to fund them? The funding is very poor. The facilities are beyond human imagination.